Coach, you've always talked about kind of the battle of which team can get to their game first and how important that is. How much does that get amplified when both teams have been on for a week?
Well, it's even, so it doesn't matter. Like the challenge is the same for both. And the context of this isn't like any other series. Look at all of you here. Yesterday's day is completely different. So distractions isn't the right word because that's kind of negative. It's just contextual. There are more layers to all of this. So that's the challenge, right? Get your group as mentally focused as you can with all the extra energy that's around. And then the first game is really important for that, but also it's really the start in terms of the building blocks and the learning process that both teams will go through for the rest of the series.
Left side, third row.
You put together a game plan in the 2021 playoffs that was extremely effective at limiting McDavid and Draisaitl. How have those two players evolved since then, and how has a coach game planning for those players evolved?
It's completely different and of absolutely no value to us now. And I'm going to say it actually has nothing to do with those two players because they were great then. They're great now. So it wasn't how they've evolved. It's the team game that's changed. The things that we identified that we had to combat in that series, they've run none of those down. And I'm telling you the truth. There's nothing, there's of no value. We had some things, some rules on certain parts of the ice that had to happen. The game's not played like that by that team anymore.
Left side, second row.
Can you compare today to waking up on game one last season, whether that's emotions, readiness, preparedness? What's the differences and similarities?
Yeah, I mean, we had a completely different set of circumstances, right? And one of them, we had this great big unknown going into game one, and that was Eetu Luostarinen. We lost him in the third period of game 4 against Carolina. Then we had the 10-day block, and they didn't, and there's all those challenges that go to that. Last year, each series was its own complete event and accomplishment by our team. Like if everybody had to go home after the Boston series, what a great year, right? And then it's Toronto. So like this is more of a continuum, I think, and we're just healthier. What that means to tonight's game, I don't know, but in differences, we had 27 guys on the ice yesterday, and we had about 14 reasonably healthy guys left in that practice the year before.
Right side, first row.
Talk a little bit about distractions, but does it help you guys at least a little bit that you're here? You didn't have to wait 10 days, number one, and then fly to Nevada, take buses to media day. Everything's been right here at least to kick this thing off.
Like I hope so, but I don't know. In the quiet times where you don't control your brain and you're thinking about all the reasons why you're good because you saw the same parakeet on your rooftop 2 days before you beat, like all of your silly little superstitions, I don't know. I do think that the end of our season through the Tampa series was really important in the Boston series. The Boston series was as physical and nasty a series as we've ever been in. I've ever watched from the bench. And we were in the state of Florida for almost a calendar month before they did that, so we didn't go in fatigued. And I think that was an advantage there. Both teams are 6 weeks into this, gonna close out on a 2-month grinder. I think it's so even and flat, it doesn't matter.
Left side, fourth row.
Paul, what's the biggest challenge in defending their power play? Is it simply the talent that they have, or do they do things structurally that are a bit different than, say, what you saw last round?
I would say it's more off structure that's danger. Everybody has a structure. They have more motion, and so it's off structure. It's almost the creativity part. They aren't casual. That's not the right word. They aren't loose in terms of they're not all dynamic, no structure. Very structured, but at the end of the day, it's what happens in motion. And you saw the first goal in Game 6 against Dallas. That would be specifically what I'm talking about. Everybody's in the right spots. They're in the right spots. 97's in motion. You know exactly where 29's going to be, but the motion is the challenge.
Right side, second row.
knowing that you're not always a big fire brimstone speech guy, when you walk into the room tonight, do you know what you're going to say, or do you kind of figure it out in real time by the feel of the room?
I know the feel I want to leave the room with right now. I haven't picked the words yet. And that won't come till later in the day. I don't schedule those other things. It all has to be by feel. It would be more likely less early than more. They don't need me to say a word to them, right? Like, everybody's wired. You don't need coffee before the game. Everybody's wired. Get in, get out, drop the puck. I'm wearing a suit, so it really don't matter.
We'll take 2 more questions. Left side, second row.
Paul, curious your thought on the role mental coaches and sports psychologists play in getting these guys to this stage, and maybe how that discipline has changed since you first entered the league.
Well, maybe it falls in line with the gap in the change in technology in our game since I came in. So I'm in Hartford. My first job as assistant coach was to inventory the video operation. 6 VCRs, 4 TVs, and that's spread over 2 buildings. That was our entire audiovisual department to what we have now. The idea of anything mental when I came in was a complete negative. Right? Nobody was talking to somebody. Mental health was never a positive word. It was I don't think those 2 words were put together in the game of hockey. Other than the guy was mental on the ice. And now it is, I think it started to be a positive, right? You saw mental skills coaches, but they didn't want to use mental health, right? So they're still real careful with the words, and then in and around COVID, probably before, mental health started to come in. I think it's huge. Finding somebody that works for you is really, really important. We have Dr. Derek Anderson in-house on call here. He's here just about every single day. I will interact with him briefly about hockey, about players, just where I think a guy's at right now. Yeah, he's really seems to be struggling with something, and then that's a private thing for the players, and then we would also have other resources for them. But so many of these guys now have teams of people around them in the off season that they call, and I think it's fantastic. Anything that can help you operate in a non-military pressure environment. There are way more pressure jobs than 2 hockey teams playing for the final, right? Like, contextually, it's not that tough. We'll probably all get to the rink on time. But to have people around those guys helping them navigate through that, I think is great.
Last question, left side.
Just double checking, no changes, everybody's good to go tonight?
Yes, thank you for that. All right, see you guys.
Thank you.